Sorry, I think we had
So,
a blip in the. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I think when we've lived a life, we can look back, but my kids can do that too. Like they can, any age, we can look back on our progress. Isn't that what our school reports for? To tell us what where we're going.
mm, mm, mm. Ah, yeah, it's interesting how it's it's like a preventative, like a readiness. This is probably not the best example. It sounds a bit too kind of apparent. I think it sort of fits the idea. It's not the best example, but having like an underground shelter kind of thing, and it's all stocked up with food and card games and whatever in case that happens. So you keep your health, you keep your mental well-being, your relationships, and your finances ticking over, and you do required to keep your strength and your fitness and your ill health and injuries, mental injuries as well, and you learn how to deal with those, talking things through with things and realizing, how certain thoughts and just keep ticking over day to day, week to week, and doing whatever for you is realistic. And then you've always got that foundation spring, think, right, I want to do this now. That base level of kind of fitness, if you like, is there. It's like a little springboard that you can jump from. So with you weren't going to Snowdonia, and keeping up your yoga practice and all your other practices, when you got on that mountain, you were fine. It took you a bit of acclimatization period, but I imagine other people might have taken a much, much longer time. Even the people who went to Snowdonia thinking, yeah, I'm fit, but then other parts of their life may not have been as fit. And of course, being on their own, those things would have just come up, and they would have had to deal with those, even though their body things they haven't sorted out, or they brought those with them. So they're walking up the mountain and think, "Shall I leave my wife?" all of that, all of that's there with you. Take it all. So if you're not dealing with it, well, it's just there undealt with.
But that's going on all the time, isn't it?
It's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
So the mountain trek is a good sort of analogy, but it's yeah, you can't. Yourself comes with you wherever you are. It's like when people go like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to this place to find myself. Like, seriously? Yourself's already with you. or,
It's
or
maybe think of the opposite. If you're not living an exit, and if you're not kind of being disciplined enough to kind of, let's say, just look after you, well, I think of these as like the four pillars of health. That you've got your mental health, so you work on that through your relationships and your meditation. Then you've got your food, so when you eat. Then you've got your sleep, and then you've got different kinds of exercise, strength training, fitness training, yoga. And that is the minimum. You need to look after these in whatever kind of realistic way you can. And there are people who don't do that. So in terms of setting goals, we were saying that, right, we need to create this of health and well-being, and then go on to something a lot more specific. So we can build off this sort of platform or foundation, not consciously, and also very consciously. I'll sleep when I'm dead. They don't value how important that is, or just eat junk food. And then, when I get older and I get type 2 diabetes, I mean, they'll give me some pills. It's just like it's almost like you're not part of the rest of society, because if you're not looking after yourself, then you're, instead of improving and becoming well, you're getting worse. You're becoming more and more unwell. It's not like you're stable where you are. You're going to get worse. Your health is going to get worse and worse, both your physical, your mental health, your relationship health, and financial health. All of that is going to, if you're not looking after it, it doesn't stay the same, it gets worse. And then all the interactions you have with other people are going to be making it worse, because you think, oh, well, they're better than me. I had a really good night's sleep. Yeah, well, I woke up 4 times. All right for you, isn't it? And each of those interactions is going to make you worse. So it's like you owe it to you, and you owe it to the rest of society to keep that base and maintain. I don't know, it sounded a bit ranty, but I think that's the realistic picture of it.
Yeah, I think though
you're not only not.
It's the overwhelm, though, isn't it? Then when you are kind of stuck in a place, it's a bit like stuck in the U-bend, I call it. It's like takes a lot of energy to go like that.
Yes.
It's really, but energy, you have to do all these other things to keep in flow. Is how we speak about it. It's not just yogis who say this now. It's the terms that we've probably been using for the past 30 years are now totally mainstream. And this element of energetic flow is really important. So we have to do the things that we love to do, but because sometimes we're so caught in the job, the relationships, the food, the diet, all of those things, we lose sight of the thing that joy. And so I think that's also part of art. Like you could put that in an extra pillar of well-being. It's doing that thing that gives us joy. And I used to really hate this phrase. Certainly when my kids were very little, it was very popular to talk about me time. Or when I taught pre and postnatal classes, and the women that I was teaching who just had a baby, it was suddenly this me time was coming up. Like, hell, you've got a long way in this journey. Like, there ain't no me time anymore. It's just like, don't tell us this, the hard truth. Like, it has to be whole. You have to work on all the things together. And of course, when you've just had a baby, that's the last thing you want to hear, because I have no sense of humor, no sleep. I've given up all of life that I need to be taken away from me. So there is, again, it goes back to this term of alignment, like getting into, these things take a few years even. doesn't just happen overnight. We don't become, just because we have a baby doesn't mean so we become a parent straight up. We adjust to being a mother or a father. That changes and grows as well. So that's just like one example.
Mm.
But it's this thing of like, the thing that makes us really happy is it's the way we will evolve, because then we attract the right people or the right situations and circumstances. And when we ourselves of the joy, when that becomes like so tattered around the edge, people are either going to do something really drastic, like leave a relationship, like go off they're going to do that big. They're going to do that big thing, or just again come back to the incremental changes, and really peacefully and respectfully and organically, and But I kind of like this idea of like come back to this thing of like, what is this emotional becoming about? Life isn't about big gestures. It's not about it's not the high days and holidays, isn't it? Is it? It's just that one foot in front of the other every plod. And so in there has to be this thing called joy and purpose, really. And I think that's like a place where a lot of us get lost, especially as life changes. And so we can bring this to the current climate of the COVID era that we're all living in. Suddenly, like joy and purpose. I've written quite a bit about this in my newsletters and spoken to my students about it. What does that actually mean to us? Because I think we kind of took it for granted. We took a lot for granted, quite rightly, before. But now we're all kind of left floundering. As we come towards New Year, or the time of New Year, because we know it's just a date, is what are we moving forward to? I mean, there is a lot of fear and anxiety. There's a lot of the unknown. The real feeling in society, we want to go back. We know we never go back. It's a word that I ban in my classes. We never use that word. We use return. I use return to self, a return to time. But again, it's much more on an emotional level, isn't it? That's sort of saying, let's return to a place in ourself that is somewhere that gives us joy, that isn't attached to the stuff that's around us.
Yeah, I think what this year has done is it's stopped people having those ways of avoiding themselves. I think being busy in any kind of way, whether it's work, family, some kind of project, even though that project is very engaging, the fun that they're doing, and they're not really aware of how they're being, who they're being. And now just in isolation, self-isolate. I mean, that word is just like saying, look, this is just you by yourself in your life. Now you have to face it. And people who haven't been on meditation retreats or been on solitary environments, deliberately to kind of look at themselves. They're having to do that, and they're starting to realize they just avoided. A lot of the things they do is about avoiding looking at themselves, and that means seeing your good part. I mean, when you look at someone else, there are good parts to them and bad parts, things you like about them, things you don't like, and self that maybe you haven't noticed, but they stay with you. And the joy, not being distracted in some kind of fantasy of what could be and what might be. That's like a maybe. That's the uncertain. What is here now? I've got somewhere safe to live. I've got good friends. I've got I am right now. This is who I am, and am I okay with that? And I might say, actually, I'm really good with that. Going to stay like this even the rest of the day. I'll have periods where I feel like, oh, and I'll realize, oh, there's me just getting caught, pulling myself away from alive. I'm still alive, and I enjoy a lot of the things I do. It's just easy to avoid things and get caught up in trains of thought that break from and say, well, that's just a thought. It's not who I am and how I am right now, today.
Yeah, so that kind of feeds into gratitude and acceptance, doesn't it? You know, it's you know, and that then comes into tracking and having those accepting thoughts for what it is, knowing it will pass. Because when we look back on our life, we know that it has always passed. You know, it's passed. We can't. We're not going backwards. Again, I ban the word in my classes. We don't go back. You know, when in class we're talking about, you know, like I just want to be. I want to go back. Like, well, that's just rubbish. You wanted this. You know, like you've been planning it for ages. You know, it was an idea, and then you got like you were 9 months pregnant plus, and now you're 6 weeks into it, and you want to go backwards. You go backwards. we've both make these adjustments, and then you might sort of go like, yeah, I'm really grateful. I have this, I have this baby, and I'm healthy, and we're all right. So that kind of feeds into then gratitude, doesn't it? I'm grateful for all the things that I've got. It's not might not be the ideal, might not be how I envisaged it, but you know what, I'm all right. And again, we have to then come back into joy, like remind ourselves and give ourselves time to kind of nourish that side of us. And there's times in life where we don't have enough time necessarily to do that because we have dependents. It could be elderly parents, sick friends, could be, like obviously family, our immediate children. There are plenty of distractions to prevent us from reminding ourselves of what is our essence, what is our joy. We just become people that do. And so we have to be, and then that feeds into becoming. What are we becoming in this process of being? So I'm thinking maybe we should like wrap up our little conversation and go our separate ways, as we would do if we were outside walking and chewing over the fat of life and wisdom.
Yeah, we lost.
Yeah, these little breaks are kind of cosmic, really, aren't they? It's like they're happening at times when you might just need a little pee break or something. So yes, I'm just wondering if we should just kind of wrap up. I mean, I would say, as always, thank you for some thought-provoking concepts. It sort of takes us on a journey, always takes us on a journey. And for that I'm grateful. And I'm learning, learning a new element of joy, a new level of joy in this experience of how we now live.
It's good. So, yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting, mindful. I would say it's been a mindful year because mindfulness is all about coming back from distractions and to, look at yourself and look at everything about yourself. So in that sense, I would say it's been a mindful year. So it's been avoid who you are, who you're becoming, what you are. And I feel grateful for that, even though it's been tough and it's been tough for the country. We don't know what's going to happen next, and things could get even worse, but feel sort of prepared, come through it. Let's keep going.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's really lovely. I love, again, I'm always writing down. It's nice to do this like this because I don't normally get to write down anything that you've said. So I try and remember it. But yeah, coming back from distractions, and, looking at everything about ourselves, being mindful. And yeah, it's been a journey of a year. For me, 2020 hasn't really been, I mean, it has been hard. Personally, I can't say it's been easy, but I have achieved a lot of personal growth and productivity that I never thought I would get around to because I'm usually outside away with the fairies, just engaging with nature, and I've made a lot of inroads into aspects of living that I'm really happy with. And the joy of Zoom. Sometimes not well connected.
Join Zoom.
Yeah, we have to. Okay, so shall we say goodbye?
Still, yeah, I think we pretty much covered it.
Cool. See you soon.
See you.